Gilded chains, the penthouse windows stretched from floor to ceiling, offering a glittering view of the city below. Elena Mercer stood there, her fingers tracing the cold glass. Outside, the world pulsed with life, but inside the air was heavy with silence. The diamonds around her wrist, a gift from her husband, felt less like jewelry and more like shackles. "Car will be here in 20 minutes. Damien's voice cut through her thoughts. He didn't look up from his phone, or the black Dior. "It photographs better." Elena swallowed. "It black," he repeated, finally meeting her eyes. "Unless you'd rather stay home?" The unspoken threat lingered. 3 years of marriage had taught her that defiance, however small, came with consequences. "Of course," she murmured. In the dressing room, her stylist Maria worked in silence. The woman's hands were gentle as she smoothed the fabric over Elena's shoulders, but her eyes held unspoken sympathy. "Your brother called again," Maria whispered, checking the door. "Lucas is back in the city." Elena's breath caught. Her brother, her only family, had been deployed overseas for nearly 2 years. Damien had always discouraged their contact, citing her fragile nerves. Now, the thought of seeing Lucas sent a rush of warmth through her chest. Did he say when? "No details," Maria said quickly. "Just that he'd surprise you." When Elena emerged in the black gown, Damien gave her an approving once-over. "Stunning." His tone was clinical, as if appraising an investment. The charity gala was a sea of polished smiles and whispered deals. Damien worked the room effortlessly, while Elena played her part, gracious, charming, invisible, until she spotted him with Sienna Carter, a young tech prodigy. Damien's hand rested on the small of Sienna's back, his body angled too close. Humiliation burned in Elena's throat. She approached, forcing a smile. "Darling, aren't you going to introduce me?" Damien's gaze turned icy. "Sienna, this is my wife Elena." Sienna was just explaining her new algorithm, he said, dismissing Elena with a glance. "It's quite technical. You wouldn't understand." The condescension stung. "I helped design the ventilation system for your downtown tower," Elena countered. "I think I can keep up." A hush fell around them. Damien's jaw tightened. "That was a long time ago," he said smoothly. "Before we realized your limitations." Then the grand doors opened. A tall figure stood silhouetted against the light. Lucas, his sharp eyes found Elena instantly. Taking in the tension, Damien's possessive grip on Sienna. When he reached them, his voice was dangerously calm. "Elena, you okay, Damien?" Forced a laugh. "She's just tired. Isn't that right, darling?" Lucas didn't smile. "I think my sister and I need to talk." He turned to Elena. "Let's get some air." Damien's grip on Sienna tightened. "She can't leave. Yet." "I wasn't asking you," Lucas said softly. The room held its breath. Elena followed Lucas out of the gala, her legs trembling beneath the weight of everything unsaid. The moment they stepped into the cool night air, she felt like she could finally breathe. "You didn't tell me you were coming back," she whispered, her voice breaking. Lucas studied her face, his dark eyes scanning for the truth she'd been hiding. "I tried calling. Damien kept saying you were unwell." His jaw tightened. "Now I see why." A black SUV pulled up Lucas's security team. He ushered her inside, his hand warm and steady on her back. "We're going to my place. You're safe now." Safe. The word felt foreign. Lucas's home was nothing like the sterile penthouse she shared with Damien. Warm wood floors, mismatched furniture, the faint scent of coffee lingering in the air. It felt alive. "You're staying here," Lucas said, tossing her a sweatshirt. "Damien won't find you." Elena clutched the fabric to her chest. "He'll come looking. Let him." Lucas's voice was calm, but there was steel beneath it. Dealt with worse than a spoiled billionaire. She wanted to believe him. But Damien wasn't just rich. He was ruthless. The next morning, Elena's phone buzzed relentlessly. 27 missed calls. 43 messages. Damien's latest text made her blood run cold. "You're making a scene, Elena. Come home before this gets ugly." Lucas snatched the phone and powered it off. First rule of hiding from a control freak. "Disappear. He'll freeze my accounts," she said, already done. Lucas handed her a new phone, a new identity. Not his prisoner anymore. Then came the smear campaign. By noon, a gossip site ran the headline, "Troubled wife of tech giant seeks help." The article painted her as unstable, quoting close sources Damien describing her erratic behavior. Lucas cursed under his breath. Classic Darvo. Deny, attack, reverse victim, and offender. Alina sank onto the couch, her hands shaking. "No one will believe me, I do," Lucas said firmly. "And we're going to prove it." That evening, an unexpected message lit up her new phone. "Alina, it's Daniel Hart. Heard what's happening? Meet me, Daniel." Her old college friend, now Anne. Investigative journalist. Lucas frowned. "You trust him?" "More than anyone Damien knows," she said. The cafe was quiet, tucked away from prying eyes. Daniel sat in the corner, his sharp green eyes scanning the room. When he saw her, his face softened. "You look good," he said. Then, noticing the tension in her shoulders, he corrected himself. "No, you look exhausted." A weak laugh escaped her. "Damien's trying to ruin me." Daniel leaned in. "Let's ruin him first." He slid a folder across the table. Inside Damien's financial records, suspicious offshore transactions, whispers of corporate espionage. "This is just the start," Daniel said, "but I need your help. You know his weaknesses." For the first time in years, Alina felt a spark of hope then, as they left the cafe. A camera flashed. "A paparazzo." "Noah, private investigator." Damien's man Lucas cursed, shoving Alina into the car. "We've got trouble." Daniel's jaw clenched. "It's going to twist this, make it look like an affair." Alina's stomach dropped. Damien would weaponize this, and he did. By midnight, the headlines screamed, "Mercer's wife caught in secret rendezvous." The war had begun. The legal papers arrived at Lucas's doorstep at dawn. Alina stared at the thick stack of documents, fingers tracing the embossed letterhead of Mercer and Damien's ruthless legal team. The cover page glared up at her, motion for emergency. Injunction, spousal support, and asset freeze. Lucas snatched the papers, scanning them with a soldier's efficiency. "He's trying to cut you off completely. Claims you're mentally unfit to handle finances." A bitter laugh escaped Alina's lips. "Of course he is." Maria, her former stylist turned confidant, texted her a screenshot of Damien's latest interview. "My heart breaks for Alina. I only want her to get the help she needs." The comments section was a minefield of sympathy for him. Suspicion of her Patricia Whitmore, the sharp-eyed divorce attorney Lucas had hired, arrived in a whirlwind of competence. She flipped through Damien's filing with disdain. Classic abuser playbook. Isolate, impoverish, then dictate terms. She tapped a manicured nail on the table, but he made one mistake. Lena leaned forward. "What?" "He forgot you helped build Project Titan." The air left Elena's lungs. Project Titan, Damien's flagship AI architecture, the one she'd sketched the initial framework for during late nights when they were still equals. Before he erased her contributions from the records, Patricia smirked. "We subpoenaed the design servers. Prove your fingerprints are all over it." That night, Daniel's latest article dropped. Inside the Billionaire's blacklist. How Damien Mercer silences critics. The piece stopped just short of naming Alina, but the implication was clear. By morning, Damien's lawyers fired back with a defamation threat. Daniel called Alina, his voice tense. "They're digging into my sources. I can't protect Clara much longer." Clara Reeves, Damien's former operations lead, the woman who'd leaked the financial discrepancies. If Damien found out, Elena's stomach twisted. "We need to move faster." Then came the break-in. Lucas's security alarms blared at 3 a.m. By the time they reached the home office, the intruder was gone, but not before wiping Elena's external drive. The one with her Project Titan schematics. Lucas cursed, examining the shattered window. Professional. Knew exactly where to look. Alina sank into a chair, defeated. "We lost the evidence." A slow grin spread across Lucas's face. "No, we led them to the decoy." He pulled a tiny drive from his pocket. The real files were never here. The next blow came via corporate warfare. Headlines: Blair Reynolds Security under investigation for fraud. Lucas's firm, his life's work, was suddenly drowning in allegations of forged contracts. Alina found him pacing the backyard, phone pressed to his ear. "Yes, Senator. I understand the DOD review. No, those invoices are not falsified." He hung up, his face stormy. "Damien's calling in political favors. They're freezing my contracts." Guilt clawed at Elena's throat. "This is my fault." Lucas gripped her shoulders. "This is his fault. And we end it tomorrow." The meeting was set. Clara would deliver the smoking gun project.
Titans.
Hidden data harvesting logs at a neutral location. But when Alina arrived at the waterfront cafe, Clara wasn't there. Only a note. "They know. Don't trust anyone." Elena's phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered to hear Damien's icy voice. "Come home, Alina, before your brother loses everything." The line went dead. Across the street, a black sedan rolled down its window. Damien's head of security stared. Back, they'd been made. The black sedan followed Elena's Uber for 6 blocks before she lost it in downtown traffic. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. "Before your brother loses everything," Damien's threat echoed in her skull as she burst into Lucas's safe house. Her brother stood over a table littered with blueprints and surveillance photos, Patricia and Daniel flanking him. All three looked up at her entrance. "Clara's gone," Elena gasped. "Damien knows she was helping us." Lucas's face darkened. He grabbed his keys. "I'll find her." Patricia blocked his path. "No, that's exactly what he wants. Divide and conquer." She held up a burner phone. Clara left more than a note. The video message showed Clara's ashen face in what looked like a parking garage. Titan isn't just AI, it's a backdoor. Damien's selling behavioral predictions to private military firms. The test subjects? Homeless vets from the shelter he funds. Daniel's coffee cup shattered on the floor. Jesus, that's human experimentation. Lena's stomach turned. She remembered Damien proudly announcing that charity initiative last year. Those press photos of him shaking hands with veterans. Lucas was already moving, strapping on a holster.
We take this to the feds now?
The FBI agent barely glanced at their evidence. "Look, it's Mercer," Agent Cho said, sliding Clara's drive back across the table. "Without your witness testifying, this is just conspiracy theory noise. Your husband owns 3 major news networks. You really think this will see daylight?" Elena's nails bit into her palms. "People are being experimented on. My hands are tied." Cho lowered her voice. "But off the record, the SEC's been building a case on Mercer for insider trading. Might be synergistic. A backdoor. Just like Project Titan. Damien struck at dusk. Alina was reviewing legal files when Lucas's security system blared a breach alert. Through the cameras, she saw black SUVs surrounding the property. "Alina." Damien's voice crackled through the intercom. "Let's talk." Daniel grabbed her arm. "That's not a request." Lucas tossed her a panic button. "Basement safe room. Go." She hesitated, then ran as the first. Window shattered. The confrontation happened in whispers. Alina watched through the security feed as Damien strolled into the wrecked living room, flanked by hired muscle. He didn't look like a man who'd broken in. He looked like he owned the place. "Where is she, Captain?" Damien asked Lucas. Lucas didn't blink. "Gone. You'll never find her." Damien sighed, pulling out a checkbook. "Everyone has a price, even war heroes." He scribbled an amount with 6 zeros. "Walk away." For a heartbeat, Alina feared her brother might actually consider it. Then Lucas smiled. "You're right. My price is seeing you in prison." The trap sprung at midnight, while Damien's thugs ransacked the house. Daniel's article went live with Clara's full testimony and Project Titan's stolen schematics. Trending hashtags exploded. Hashtag Mercer experiment, hashtag Titan victims by 1 a.m. Senator Hayes, whose nephew had been a Titan test subject, demanded a congressional hearing. By 2 a.m., Damien's lawyers were in emergency talks with the DOJ, and at 3:17 a.m., watching from a hotel across town, Alina finally let herself cry as the news showed federal agents storming Mercer Tower. 1 week later, the courthouse steps swarmed with reporters. Alina adjusted her sunglasses, steeling herself for the flashbulbs. Ready? Lucas murmured beside her. She wasn't, but she stepped forward anyway into the light, into the truth, into the first day of the rest of her life. Behind her, Daniel's warm hand found hers. Ahead, justice waited. 6 months later, the brass plaque beside the door gleamed under the morning sun. Alina Mercer and Associates Architectural Design and Innovation. Alina traced the engraved letters, her throat tight. This unassuming office in a converted Soho loft was hers, not Damien's. Not a compromise. Hers. Behind her, Daniel's warm hand settled on her shoulders. First client arrives in 20 minutes. Nervous? She turned, taking in his teasing grin, the crinkles at the corners of his forest green eyes, terrified, she admitted, and exhilarated. He kissed her forehead. That's how you know it's real. The trial that shook the world the courtroom sketches didn't do. Damien Justice Alina watched from the witness stand as her ex-husband sat perfectly composed in his custom Tom Ford suit. The picture of wronged innocence. Even now, facing 12 counts of fraud and human rights violations. He played the role of misunderstood genius. Ms. Mercer, his lawyer sneered, "Isn't it true you're financially dependent on this lawsuit?" Patricia objected before Alina could answer. Relevance? The judge sighed, sustained, but the seed was planted. Just like Damien taught them, the smoking gun. It was Clara Pell, but determined who delivered the killing blow. On the stand, she produced a second set of files, encrypted medical records showing test subjects, psychotic episodes after Titan trials. Mr. Mercer called these acceptable outliers, Clara said, voice shaking. When I objected, he threatened. My daughter. The gallery erupted. Damien's mask slipped just for a second, revealing the feral rage beneath, the verdict guilty on all counts. 22 years in federal prison. As the bailiffs led him away, Damien locked eyes with Alina across the courtroom. No words. Just a promise of what? She wasn't sure. Daniel squeezed her hand. It's over. But Lucas, ever the soldier, muttered, watch your back. The rebirth, the gallery opening, was everything Damien would have hated. No corporate sponsors. No calculated press leaks. Just Alina's curated collection of artists who'd survived trauma war photographers, abuse survivors, former Titan test subjects. You did this, Lucas said, handing her a champagne flute. No one else. Across the room, Daniel laughed. With Clara and her now-safe daughter, Patricia debated art with a federal judge. And in the center of it all stood Alina as a victim, not as a wife, but as herself. Epilogue, 3 years later. Letter arrived on a Tuesday. Alina almost didn't open it, recognizing the prison return address, but curiosity won. Inside, a single line in Damien's precise handwriting. You were always my masterpiece. She burned it in the office fireplace. Outside, the city glittered not as a gilded cage, but as a canvas. And for the first time in her life, Alina held the brush.